What is going on, everybody, and welcome to the official Third Age Reforged YouTube channel. My name is Jordan, also known as Jmonster. Thank you for joining me for another replay of battle. Today I have something truly amazing to show you. This is a 4 versus 4 developers versus community battle. There's a lot of people from the mod squad here and the development team on one side who are playing as the High Elves, and facing them you can see the vast approaching hordes of Gundabad. This is probably one of the largest battles I think I have ever seen. You don't usually see 4v4 battles on huge unit settings, but here one is. This is going to be fantastic. So without any further ado, let's jump right in to the army compositions, and we can get into the replay itself. I hope you guys enjoy it. The first High Elven force we're looking at today is commanded by Sin of the Dark Cloud. He's bringing some Elder Lancers. He's got some Sindar Blade-Masters as well. Not quite as strong as they used to be. These guys were the scourge of the battlefield in 0.86. There's got similar stats, but they don't have the extra HP anymore, meaning that they are very, very vulnerable to missiles and javelins and things like that. He's also bringing some Elder Archers, some No Return No Warriors, a lot of No Return No, actually, about 3 or so units of them. He's got some Sword Quendi, some Elder Spearmen, and I think about 3 units of those Elder Spearmen, and up here he's got some Imladris Cavalry. I think he's also got an artillery piece hiding out in there somewhere, alongside some Mithlon Nobles, or rather, not Mithlon Nobles, Elder Nobles. He's also got a Catapult. Yeah, there's the artillery piece. Oop, we're going the wrong direction. Over here we have the forces of Carindol, one of the developers. He is bringing some Sword Quendi, a really good tar pit unit that honestly the elves need at this point, because a lot of their heavy infantry is very expensive and quite low in numbers, but the Sword Quendi can more than make up for that if you support their battle line well. He's also bringing some Elder Spearmen, some Lindon Long Spears, who are really strong when backed up by a Sword Quendi, by the way, so definitely a worthy combination there. He's also bringing some Bow Quendi, kind of a little bit on the cheap here. I think he's going more for the numbers than for the elites. He's also got some Elder Archers to the tune of about 2 units of them. Imladris Guard. These guys are brutal pikemen, some of the best in the game, if not the best. He's also bringing Phallus Lords, who have fallen a long way from their previous iteration where they had like 6 HP and 86 defense. They are essentially an upgraded version of Elder Spearmen with better attack and defense values. More Sword Quendi, another unit of Sword Quendi, and some Elder Lancers to boot. Moving on over here, we have the forces of Happy Meal. Of course, he's also bringing some Elder Lancers. He's bringing some Sword Quendi, some Sindar Blade Masters, yet more Sword Quendi, some Lindon Long Spears to back them up with, some Bow Quendi, a Catapult, and these are a new unit actually in 0.9. These are the Imladris Storm Raiders. They do a lot of damage on the charge. They're a little bit slower and very vulnerable to missile fire. Happy Meals also brings some Elder Archers, more Long Spears, and a unit of Elder Nobles to round off his cavalry force. Finally, for the defending team, we have Guro-Chan, who is bringing not some High Elves. Of course he's bringing the High Elves. He's bringing some Sword Quendi, some Imladris Storm Guard, yet more Sword Quendi, Lindon Long Spears, a Catapult, and a unit of Elder Nobles. Actually, I think all of the forces have a unit of Elder Nobles, but the others are just hidden back in the forest, and I don't really want to comb the forest looking for them. But these guys are a new unit. They are based on a very similar model, actually, from DAC. They are very strong. They are extremely expensive, costing about 1,850 florins to bring, but they will kill everything. You cannot run these guys down with cavalry without losing your cavalry very, very quickly. I think they've got AP missiles, they've got great melee and attack stats, and they've also got a shield, which helps them stand up to missile fire. Kuro's also bringing some Sindar Blade Masters, some Lindon Long Spears, the pretty standard complement that most of the other armies have, with Elder Archers and Sindar Blade Masters and Sword Quendi to all support each other. And that's basically it for the High Elves. Let's take a look at the massive hordes of Gundabad. The first Gundabad army we're going to look at today is the force commanded by Von Mountain, one of the veteran players from the official Third Age Reforged Discord, which, if you guys are interested in participating in these kinds of events, make sure you go in and check the link in the description, because I'm sure it's going to be down there for you. And you can join the community and can have lots of fun with us. But in any case, Von Mountain is bringing a single unit of Witch Realm Blackguard, which is for his bodyguard unit. He's also got some Witch Realm Scourge Raiders and some Rudar Savages, a lot of really nice, really cheap, expendable shock troops here. He's also got a great holding force in the form of 2 units of Witch Realm Pikemen, a couple units of, what are these guys called again? Rudar Heavy Pikes, that's my bad. He's got a couple of units of Goblin Trackers, who are not really all that great, but mostly useful for their volume of fire. He's got some Black Heroics of the Mountain, who are not nearly as strong as they used to be. They lost their AP component and a little bit of their stats, but they still have really strong numbers. They're not terribly expensive, and high attack values as well. I think they have like 24 attack and 27 defense, something like that. Over here, he's got a couple units of a very, very important unit. These are the Rudauer Berserkers. They have a lot of purposes. Not only are they dependable battle line infantry with AP and multiple hit points, they also inspire units around them to greater feats of courage. So they are an important part of the Gundabad tapestry for keeping the whole thing together and preventing your lesser trained orc units from routing. He's also got a unit of catapult that's hanging out over here, just on the corner of the tree line. Very easy to miss. Over here we have the Army of Rules 1. This is another one of the veteran players. He's got more of a quantity approach, I think, than the quality the Von Mountain is bringing. He's got some Orc Marauders, some Rudauer Scouts, one here, one on the other side. These guys are not very strong, but they're very swift, and there's a lot of advantages to having a swift cavalry unit on the field. He's also bringing some Orc Fellers, who are just expendable shock troops. Make sure you pick your battles wisely for these guys, because you probably won't get more than 1 or 2 fights out of them. They've got lots of numbers, but they don't have the greatest defensive stats. At least they are AP, so they can do some damage before they die. Rules has also brought a holding force consisting of another 2 units of Rudauer Heavy Pikes and a couple units of Witch Realm Pikemen. And he's got, oh my god, look at this. He's got like 3 units of artillery, 2 catapults, 1 ballista. That's going to be really interesting for the High Elves to deal with. The High Elves generally can't take a lot of casualties while remaining combat effective, so large amounts of artillery like this can be a real elf bane. He's also bringing a unit of Witch Realm Hammer Guard, some of the best shock troops in the game, multiple HP, heavily armored, and AP as well. I think that's basically it. No, actually, check this out. He's got some Witchers. Good to see these guys in the battle. Again, another nuke unit. If you can get these guys close to a line, then they can just blow massive holes in it. But they're very easily shot down, especially by the elite Elven Archers who have insane accuracy. And the Elder Inway have AP as well. So it'll be an interesting cat and mouse game while Rules tries to get these guys into position. And to round up his whole force, he's also brought a unit of Warg Riders. Over here, we've got the Army of King Strategist. He's got another kind of quality over quantity, or quantity rather over quality army. He's bringing some Orc Halberdiers, some Orc Marauders, some Gundabad Guard. Actually, this guy's got a buff, I believe, in .9. They've got 2 HP now and a little bit more numbers, and some slightly increased stats. Out front, he's got a line of Hillmen with spears. These guys are essentially Snaga by another name, but there are anti-cavalry, and there's a lot of them, so you can use them to soak up arrows or charges and things like that. He's also got some Orc Fellers and some Bolgs Champions. I love these guys. These are essentially Warg Riders without any of the downsides of being a Warg Rider. They've got great morale, they've got high armor, high damage, multiple HP. They are beasts on the battlefield. They're just very expensive to bring. He's also got a unit of catapults. So much artillery here. It's craziness. Some Rudauer Savages, some Rudauer Heavy Pikes, and that's basically it. No, he's got another unit of Trolls over here. Some Snow Trolls from King Strategist. I think he's got some Trolls of Gundabad in the back here too that I may have missed. But in any case, moving on. We have the Army of Apollo, who he's gone with more of a balanced approach. He's got overall a very nice roster. Really kind of fills out the length and breadth of the Gundabad forces. But in any case, Apollo is bringing 3 units of Snaga Stalkers, some Trolls of Gundabad, a couple units of Black Heroics, a couple units of Scourge Raiders, a couple units of Rudauer Berserkers, I believe 4 or 5 units of Orc Marauders to fill out his main line. And he's rounding the whole force off with a couple units of Warg Riders, who are not nearly as good as they used to be. Oh, excuse me one moment. Sorry about that, my voice was failing me. These guys are not nearly as strong as they used to be. They've lost an HP and a little bit of their stats, but they're still quite strong and quite cost efficient. Although you do need to support them a little bit more now. They can't just like run around and bully heavy cavalry the way they used to. Apollo's also bringing a unit of Witch Realm Hammer Guard. Good to see more of these guys on the battlefield, which I believe is also his general's bodyguard unit. And he's got a single unit of Witch Realm Inquisitors. These guys are super sexy heavy cavalry. I love the models for these guys. And I got the feeling that we're going to see more models and more units based on this in the future as Reforged begins to move forward. But that basically does it for the army compositions. Let's go ahead and let's jump right in to this epic battle. And so the battle has begun. You can see, I think that's the army of Von Mountain beginning to open up. It looks like they're targeting the catapult piece from the High Elves, who are going to return fire and maybe clip one of them. Oh, it's really close. No, not quite there. But let's slow it down just for a little bit and take a look at the High Elven order of battle. This is a very scary defensive force. The High Elves excel at this kind of defensive combat. In sieges, for example, they are very strong, and it's difficult to dislodge them. So with that in mind, if I was the Gundabad players, what I would prefer to do is to try and surround this area on all sides. There's a few good advantages to that. One, it limits their ability to project their power. If they are surrounded, for example, then they can't get their cavalry out into the field, not without effecting a breakout, which really kind of neutralizes the cavalry regiments inside of their army. It also prevents any form of escape and doesn't allow the defending force up here on the hill to bring their strength to bear in any one place with overwhelming power. So there's a few good reasons to do that, but there's some downsides as well. If you guys have seen some of the previous videos that I've done, there have been instances where a surrounding force spreads themselves far too thin and is not able to really follow through with their attack, which ends up with their lines being broken and their forces surrounded and defeated in detail. But enough of the strategic stuff. Look at this massive charge going forward. The Snaga Stalkers, the first in line. Very unfortunate. I'm surprised they all have weapons. It's not just every third Snaga has a weapon, and the surviving Snaga pick it up as they fall. You can see them soaking up a lot of ammunition here, which is really important. There's a lot of fairly, nice catapult shots. Some of these Snaga are already routing with 166 in the unit. But the Snaga, it's very useful to have them die in the place of more important regiments, like the Blackguard or something else. Oh man, let's slow it down. There's so much chaos here. Big artillery volley going in over there. It looks like the High Elves have managed to silence one of these catapults. That is really just a drop in the bucket, actually, for the forces of Gundabad. If they only had 1 or 2 catapults, it would be a problem, but Rules alone has 2 catapults. Looks like some Runehour scouts got themselves routed as well. The High Elves really doing a great job at putting the hurt on the Orcs as they move into combat, but the Orc Marauders are going to follow up the Snaga Skirmishers, and it looks like there's some Scourge Raiders in there as well, so this is not going to be so easy to push those guys off the battlefield and send them into a rout. Up here, the Hillmen have now impacted the first line of the High Elves. The Sword Quendi are driving them back quite handily. These light infantry have a lot of melee defense, very strong in hand-to-hand combat. You can see some reinforcements now moving in, hungry for blood, routing those Snaga Stalkers, possibly looking to break through the lines and begin to surround some of these units, but I think that would be a very, very risky maneuver. He probably wants to pull some of these guys back, get them back into formation, because he has opened now a gap in his line, and these guys they're just going to get themselves surrounded. There's way more Gundabad troops yet to come. There's another wave already on its way. These Rear Pikes are going to pin these guys in place, although it's very, very brave. You have to appreciate that. Oh man, I'm seriously concerned about this gap in the High Elven lines right now. Oh man, just look at the arrows filling the sky, raining down upon the Orcs. There's just so many of them, though. It just doesn't seem to be doing anything. Yeah, Orcs fall here and there, but there are hundreds left to take their place. Looks like there's some shenanigans going on over here in the forest. Oh man, looks like we missed a cavalry charge from the High Elven warriors who are stationed over here in the forest. They managed to take down a lot of the snow trolls, well over half of them, but they have now been driven out of the forest by the presence of these Warg Riders and the trolls of Gundabad down here, leaving the Gundabad forces in control of this flank, and again, limiting the usefulness of these cavalry. If they can't run around and they can't get charges, then they have to fight on a battle line, which honestly at that point all they are is just more expensive, less numerous heavy infantrymen. Moving on over here, you can see the Orcs of Gundabad attacking basically everywhere. Some of these Stormguard now being forced to fall back. Oh, I think I heard a big catapult volley go off and impact with somebody, some unlucky Orc somewhere probably. Warg Riders here overwhelming the Sword Quendi Vanguard from the High Elves. You can see that they have been basically cut down to size, lost about 2/3 of the unit, and now that charge is being followed up with some more Orc Marauders, and yet more Orcish infantry to come. You can see some Goblin Trackers now forming up in the back lines, getting ready to pepper down these High Elves. These Lindon Longspears in particular are vulnerable to that kind of weak but massed arrow fire. Oh, this is going to be beautiful. They're definitely doing their best, but the Lindon Longspears are managing to keep them at bay. Well, somebody just got flattened by a catapult. I don't know where it was, though. Let's just take a moment and just appreciate this. This is probably one of the largest scale battles I think I've ever seen in my life, and I'm really excited to be here today doing this. Oh man, a push here from the Imladris Guard. These guys are really strong. The Gundabad center line is going to be in some serious trouble if they can't move some units in there. Some trolls, for example, to try and relieve the pressure. Yeah, those Imladris Guards, especially being pike units from the front in point 9, are very strong. Sorry about that. Had to clear my throat. More and more Orc Marauders pouring into the fight here. You can see those Hillmen have somehow managed to hold on for a long time, wasting ammunition from the High Elves and wasting the precious fatigue from these High Elven units. I haven't seen too much come out of their artillery so far. Artillery is very, very strong against the elves because they can't really take a lot of casualties and remain combat effective. So it's unfortunate to see that there's not more being done with those artillery pieces, because that was definitely the biggest advantage, I think, that the orcs have. Yes, they've got the numbers, and those are great, but if they can crush some of the important high elven units like the Noldor Elders, for example, then they're going to have a very big advantage moving into the long term. I wonder where that one's going to go. Let's find out. Oh, very close. Looks like they're targeting the artillery piece from Happy Meal. Not a bad idea at all. Moving on over here, we got some more Orc Marauders pouring in. As more Orcs fall, more charge in to take their place. The High Elves so far are holding admirably, but there's a lot of Orcs here. I think just through sheer numbers they could crush them. And look at this. It looks like Gundabad is going to be able to break through over here on the High Elven left wing. There's only a thin line of Elder Runaway Spearmen, the thin gold line holding back the tide of Gundabad. Yeah, they're definitely going to need to move some of the reinforcements in there, but it looks like the High Elves are a little bit thin on the ground. Most of their forces seem to be occupied in the center, and the left wing is occupied largely by their artillery pieces, who are in some serious trouble. Look at this. The Rudar Savage is already managing to break through and get into those crews, and their archers as well. The archers are strong in combat, in melee combat, but honestly, that's not the place where they want them to be. At least not until they've run out of ammunition. Now might be a good time for these Eldorman Lancers to get moving. It doesn't look... Actually, no. Gundabad has swung wide around. This is Apollo's cavalry. His Warg Riders looking like they're going to want to come in from behind. Even their mere presence here is going to oblige the High Elves to keep some forces back to try and hold them off. Looks like Sin the Dark Cloud now moving in with some of his Sindar Blade Masters, trying to plug this gap in the line, maybe even save his artillery piece. It's desperately trying to pull itself out of there, but the Trolls of Gundabad now charging into that artillery. I think that's going to be all she wrote for these guys. We might see a rout here soon. Oh man, the Sindar Blade Masters just a little bit too late, or maybe just in the nick of time. I don't know. We'll find out. But now charging into battle against those Trolls of Gundabad. Trolls of Gundabad now counter-charging them, looking to even get into the archers and begin to disrupt the High Elven lines, or the High Elven back lines on the left wing here. This is a big problem for the elves. Well, Sin of the Dark Cloud has managed to swing around here and get into the side of these Rudar Savages. The high melee defense on these Sword Quendi is going to do a lot for them in battle against these high damage Savages who don't really have a lot of defensive stats. They may have better damage and numbers than the Quendi, but the Quendi, I think, have the longevity needed to cut these guys down. But nonetheless, King Saragus is just going to nail home his advantage, push forward as much as he can, and try and cut down as many of these Sindar Blade Masters as possible. Oh, I don't even know whose catapult that was, but it was beautiful, scything down a solid handful of those troops there. It also does a lot of morale damage since it is fiery ammunition. Looks like this entire left wing has been completely lost. Oh man, some more catapult shots coming in. That one was not... Actually, that was a little bit nicer. That's a serious problem for the Orcs of Gundabad. A lot of them are now very tired. You can see some possible routing there, I think, amongst the... might have been the Pikes or one of the lesser units like the Orc Marauders, but they don't really have the morale to take a sustained fiery missile bombardment. So if that keeps happening, there could be some serious problems for Gundabad here, which might reverse all the good work that they've done. Oh man, big cavalry charge coming in to these Trolls of Gundabad. These guys are not going to like that at all. I think these three Trolls here are probably going to get cut down really quickly. Yeah, that guy's down, and so is he. Cavalry very, very strong, although they want to be careful here. You don't want to impale your own troops on your own stakes. That would be unfortunate. But those Trolls of Gundabad have now been swiftly beaten, I think, by those Elderly Lancers, who are now whirling back around and looking for another charge. Let's go ahead and let's fast forward just a little bit here. The Orcs of Gundabad tried to muscle their way through the lines. Elsewhere, the High Elves are holding out. But for... Oh, how long with that kind of thing happening? Oh, man, that was devastating. That was just unfortunate for everybody. I think that's the catapult crews from Rules just indiscriminately firing into these blobs of High Elves. But honestly, the Orcs of Gundabad, as long as they don't rout, they can take the casualties. The High Elves cannot. So it ends up being a... In terms of... like cost versus effect ratio, the High Elves definitely don't come out on top in that sort of scenario. Oh man, another big catapult volley going in. couple of near misses there. Looks like another High Elven artillery unit has been almost completely destroyed. Back here, things are just, it's absolute madness. You can see the cavalry of the Orcs of Gundabad charging into battle. Oh man, those catapult crew, I think that's Sin of the Darklood's catapult crew, just got run over. Totally pancaked. And the Witch Realm Inquisitors followed through and went right in to those Elder Ringway archers. Oh no, one of the High Elven generals is now fallen. Things are looking seriously grim for the High Elves. And we got some of the archers here. It looks like they might be trying to fall back, maybe reform a little bit farther back here and pepper the Orcs of Gundabad as they move forward. But I don't know what they're going to do with their infantry. It's complete and utter chaos here. They send our Blade Masters, very strong unit, but surrounded like this, they are not going to be able to hold out for very long. Yeah, the forces of King Strategists have just muscled their way through the High Elven lines, destroyed the Elder Ringway on the battle line, and looks like the Bulk's champions are in there as well, cutting down as many of these heavily armored units as they possibly can with their AP bonus. This is not good. I don't see any way for the High Elves to get out of this. They are almost completely surrounded now by the forces of the Orcs of Gundabad, who just have free reign to basically do whatever they want at this point. Looks like we've got a bit of a cavalry fight over here. Some of the Elder Ringway archers looks like they were trying to escape, got caught out by Warg Riders and some Trolls of Gundabad. The High Elves tried to move in some reinforcements in the form of these Imladris cavalry and those Lancers. This is Sin of the Dark Cloud's cavalry, but it just doesn't seem like it's enough. Oh man, there's so many wargs and they're so deadly against cavalry units that this is going to be a tough fight. Boquendi now trying to get clear of that scrap, trying to, you know, move their way slowly and cautiously through those lines, with the Warg Riders just running amok everywhere, running now into the back of those Elder Ringway nobles. It looks like the High Elves may be able to salvage some of their forces from this, but not too much. Elder Ringway Lancers here trying to chase down these Witch Realm Inquisitors, who are looking a little bit worse for wear now, having lost at least half the unit. Looks like some of these High Elven archers also firing into them. I think the Elder Ringway, if it's them, they are AP, so that's deadly for the Witch Realm Inquisitors. They're going to manage to connect, silence those archers, and just bowl their way through here. Actually getting into the Boquendi. Oh man, you can see artillery shots firing into these units. It's just complete chaos here. The High Elves are just getting absolutely massacred. Nice little stand here from the Noldor Elder Nobles, hiding out in the middle of the force, using some of the Storm Raiders to hold these Trolls in place and pepper down the Trolls of Gundabad. The Trolls of Gundabad charging into battle, trying to disrupt them, but that is not going to be... It's not going to go as well for them as they think it will. The Noldor Elder Nobles are troll killers. They cannot be beaten by a single unit of Trolls alone. Elsewhere on the battle line, it looks like the High Elves are sort of holding on in certain places, but elsewhere they are being surrounded. Let's go ahead and move a little bit over here. This is where they seem to be strongest the last time. They have managed to beat back the forces of Gundabad with heavy, heavy losses. Actually, oh man. Oh, that's just so devastating. The High Elves really can't continue like this. They need to manage to get into the crews of Rune, or of Rules rather, who frequently plays Faction Rune, so maybe that's where the confusion comes from. But they need to be able to get in there and silence those catapult crews before they can do any more damage. Looks like some Rudauer scouts over on this end are looking to possibly make it through these battle lines and begin to get into some of these archers, for example, which would be devastating. That's a really good trade-off. These guys on the charge can actually kill quite a lot of archers. Down here, it looks like things have not been going so great for the forces of Gundabad. I'm looking at a lot of dead archers here. There is still very fierce fighting going on underneath the boughs of these trees. You can see some Sindar Blade Masters have been committed to the battle against some Goblin Trackers of all things. So the High Elves actually winning down here, despite the fact that basically everywhere else they're in a lot of trouble. Now these pike units are going to hold out for a while though, which I think will possibly allow the forces of Gundabad to come in behind them, charging down this hill. But they've still got some decent forces. They've got a catapult, more Elder Nobles, and some Elder Ringway archers. So maybe there's hope yet for the Elven armies. We're going to go ahead and we're going to speed it up a little bit now. Up here at the top of the hill, it's just a massacre. The High Elves are being cleaned out. They've managed to rout some of these Gundabad forces, surprisingly enough, pushing them back. But elsewhere, I think the Gundabad forces are winning. They've got some Rudauer Berserkers backing up some of the Rudauer Heavy Pikes, beginning to surround these Phallus Lords. The Phallus Lords are very strong. Not as strong as they used to be, but still they will hold out for quite some time, and they are still very healthy. So Rune needs to do something about that. Oh, another catapult shot going into what looks like that's probably a little bit of friendly fire on the part of Gundabad.
Without that general, they may lose heart.
I think that's another Elven general falling in combat. It's like 3 Elven generals that have fallen so far. Man, just look at the chaos here. There's almost not even a battle line anymore. There's like pikes fighting out of formation, cavalry charging in, trying to exploit the gaps in the line. This is just a beautiful sight to see. Looks like King Strategist's trolls have actually made it into the Elder Ringway archers and are fighting with them. They're actually kind of being beaten. Oh my god, look at it. I think because trolls are now heavy infantry, they actually get like the kill animations on them, so that's really cool. Oh, can they do it? Can they do it? Not if they get shot in the back by their own archers. Oh, charges coming in here. Oh no, they were too late to save that one archer. That's so sad. Oh man, looks like these Noldor Elder Nobles. Man, for whatever reason, that's really hard to say. The Noldor Elder Nobles are getting beaten down by the catapult crews. This is a really good target. These guys, as I said, are very strong in melee and have a lot of HP. But you can kill them in one hit with catapult shots. Looks like the best of the best are going up against the best of the best. The Witch Realm Hammerguard locked in combat now against the Noldor Elder Nobles. Things not looking great for them. They're beating back some of these Gundabad Spear Guard, and at the same time being smashed by the Hammerguard. That's not going to be an easy fight for those Noldor Nobles, although I'm sure they will do very well for themselves on the battlefield. Looks like these Phallus Lords, having taken light casualties, now trying to retreat, trying to, I think, maybe reform a battle line, prevent themselves from getting a little bit strung out. Let's go ahead and let's slow it down again. Looks like the forces of Gundabad managing to break through some Orc Fellers, trying to charge through the lines here and flank what looks like a catapult crew and a very, very beleaguered unit of Imladris Guard and Elder Ringway Spearmen. You can see the noose beginning to tighten. Unless the High Elves pull one of these units out soon, I think the best choice would be the Spearmen, and then they're going to be in a lot of trouble. Oh man, just more artillery fire going in. Looks like a little bit of friendly fire. I think they might have destroyed one of their own catapults there. That's a little bit unfortunate. Elsewhere, we've got another unit of Hammerguard just mowing down Sindar Blade Masters. That's a really good... Oh, some ballista fire from Rules, actually killing mostly his own troops. I don't think he actually got any of the Sindar Blade Masters with that volley. But these Witch Realm Hammerguard are going to do really well against the Sindar Blade Masters. That's not an even fight by any means. The High Elves holding on down here, though. Looks like they're actually managing to encircle the people who are encircling their own. These are the Storm Guard. I don't know. Maybe they're gonna. Oh, that was tragic. I speak too soon. Maybe I thought maybe they'd be able to beat their way out of this, but honestly, with that constant catapult fire and now flanking movements coming in from some fresh Scourge Raiders and some Savages, the High Elves are in a lot of trouble. Let's take a look at how things are doing. The High Elves have held with great cost. They have held this forest ridge, but I don't think it's going to happen for too much longer. There's some reinforcements from Gundabad moving in, and their lines are really starting to look very thin. In fact, the Rudar Heavy Pikes, rather, have managed to punch a hole in the line of the Lindon Longspears. And, oh, there goes another general. Just got smacked in the back of the head by a Hammerguard. But they've managed to punch through this Lindon Longspear line and slowly surround the Sindar Blade Masters, who are looking worse for wear. And there's some Rudar Berserkers to pin them in place. It's like Von Mountain's Blackguard Bodyguard, in fact, is in the thick of it, getting charged in the rear by a catapult crew. Not too scary there. Some Sword Quendi moving in from the front. That's going to be an easy fight for the Witch Realm Blackguard. I don't really know what the High Elves are going to do at this point. Yeah, I'm not seeing a whole lot of forces left for them. They've got some Bow Quendi here, but yeah, it's not too much. Let's take a look at the percentages. Although I say that, but it's dead even. Although the forces of Gundabad have significantly higher numbers, probably about twice the numbers as the High Elves. Got some Noldor Elder Nobles now trying to flee, reposition themselves, and begin to fire into what looks like these Rudar Berserkers. They're probably not going to be their target. But over here, there is some Hammerguard, actually being hammer and anviled, ironically enough, that might make a juicy target for those Noldor Nobles. All the Gundabad Guard are thinking of routing. Things are definitely going poorly when that is happening. All right, let's go ahead and let's speed it up just a little bit here. And those Hammerguard doing their best to fight their way out. I think they might be able to do it, although there's a lot of elves in there. And there's still some Noldor Nobles as well. Very heavily reduced Noldor Nobles, but still strong nonetheless. High Elven Cavalry just running amok. You can see some Imladris Cavalry charging into those Root Hour Scouts. That is going to destroy those Scouts, and they're going to flee very quickly. Yeah, some light casualties there for the Elves, although I think they pulled out a little bit too fast, which is going to leave that very small unit still able to do a little bit of damage. Orcs of Gundabad, I think, have now broken the High Elves over here. They've definitely managed to punch their way through this line. Oh, some friendly fire there. Very unfortunate. But they've managed to punch their way through the line, and they are now moving forward, advancing, looking to potentially surround what remains of the High Elven infantry up here. This area in particular is going to be a problem, and indeed they are charging in there, those Orc fellers, getting their charge bonus activated, scything down these poor Bo Quindy. I don't know what they can do at this point. Maybe they've still got forces down here in the... all these guys are routing, never mind. I think the High Elves still have forces down in the forest, but I don't know. I don't know how much. It looks like they've actually been beaten back in here. Yeah, these Eldar Rinway Lancers beating a retreat. Most of these Lindon Lawn Spears now fleeing for their lives. These Witch Realm Blackguard have done a number on that healthy unit of Sword Quendi. This is not a good place for those Quendi to be. They probably should have been falled back. They probably should have fallen back and tried to reform, link up with any surviving elements of the army. Although I say that, and there is some forces. You can see some Phallus Lords actually emerging from the woods. Only Winded, still 84 left in the unit, looking really healthy, and a very, very strong unit of Noldor Elder Nobles. Some Elder Runway Archers as well. Not very many. Actually, no, there's 87s. That's almost a full unit, and another couple units back here as well. So the Elves still have some troops on the battlefield, but I don't know if it's enough to beat the hordes of Gundabad. Elder Runway Nobles charging into battle. I think they might be going for those Root Hour Savages. That would be a little bit difficult for them. Savages are AP, and I think they're anti-cavalry as well. What do we got here? Some more routing, a few surviving Lancer units, and some Imladris Cavalry trying to get themselves just the heck out of there, fleeing in the face of those Root Hour Savages. I think what the High Elves are going to try and do is, yeah, from the looks of things, they're all heading back there towards the back of the map, looking to reform and potentially put up a final stand, which is really cool. Actually, they've been pushed off that hill, but they're not giving up yet. Let's see what we got. Some Elder Enemy Archers now fleeing off the battlefield in the face of those Root Hour Pikes. Those Pikes are never going to catch those guys. They are very swift archers. Let's take a moment and just review. Look at this. Root Hour just came in like a wrecking ball, especially on the left flank. Got a few Phallus Lords here, still trying to hold things down in the ruins of their camp. There's like smoking High Elven corpses all over the place. That is so cool. Some routing Sword Quendi here. It's unfortunate that they can't get these units to reform. They could be very useful over there in that last stand. Yeah, the forces of Gundabad have managed to break through. There's still some artillery pieces left from Rules. He's done a good job of keeping them alive, but it doesn't look like they came off scot-free in that engagement. You can see a lot of dead orcs all along this battle line, and it just extends down into the forest. Look at this. The scale of this is truly epic, and I don't use that word very lightly. This was truly an epic battle. Oh, that's a healthy unit of Witch Realm Scourge Guard. Well, let's see what the High Elves managed to save. Not much. Paltry hundreds maybe from the 1,000-strong army that they had previously. Alright, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to fast forward just a little bit here, and I will see you guys in a moment. Just as these Phallus Lords are falling and the last of the High Elven resistance on this hilltop is being extinguished, Gundabad has reformed. You can see a large host here with some very strong elite units still left to come. 75 Hammer Guard and some elite pikemen and some other things as well. But over in the forest, they've got yet more. We've got some men of Root Hour. We've got a very healthy Blackguard yet from Von Mountain. It's down to probably about 40%, but these are still a lot of Witch Realm Blackguard to have at this late point in the game. Orc Fellers now emerging from the woods alongside some Witch Realm Scourge Raiders, and a very small unit, a very battered unit of Root Hour Heavy Pikes. But I think they've definitely got enough. I mean, the High Elven force that remains is very small. It would take nearly nothing for them to be overwhelmed. The High Elves are going to move forward. Kurogoro-chan's archers looking to be a little bit aggressive and maybe pull these guys into an engagement. If they can manage to, if they can beat small elements of this force or destroy like entire units from range, like the Savages, for example, who do a lot of AP damage, then maybe they'll be able to come out on top. But they got to really pick their targets wisely here. They've probably only got a little bit of ammunition left at this point, so I would probably go for either the Blackguard or that artillery unit in particular. Looks like they're going for the Hammer Guard. That's not a bad target for those Elder AP archers. You can see that they are just butchering them. This is very, very uncommon. You don't normally see Hammer Guard die like this. Yeah, Gundabad is not liking that. It looks like some of the forces from Von Mountain moving forward, looking to engage the High Elves, or at the very least bully them out of position. At the same time, another unit of Hammer Guard from Apollo, a much less powerful unit of Hammer Guard, only 38 left in the unit, is going to move forward to give these guys a little bit of oomph on their battle line. You can see the High Elven Cav, what remains of those proud battalions of High Elven Cav, now scooting around on the Gundabad right flank, looking to get into their back lines and exploit any inattentiveness on the part of Gundabad. Looks like those High Elven archers have switched targets now, just scythed down like 30 of those Rudour Savages. And there's now another tier of archers beginning to open up upon the advancing Gundabad forces. At this point, it's either move forward or die, to be perfectly honest. If they try to retreat, which appears what they're doing right now, then they are just going to get shot down by those archers, because now the Elder have reformed. This is going to prove, I think, to be a costly mistake for the forces of Gundabad. Yeah, the rest of the force needs to move in. At this point, I think it's time to double down, just go forward and try and crush what remains of the High Elves. Look at this. How do these guys get across the field? Pikes are so vulnerable to missiles, and there's archers everywhere, and they're super slow moving. This is a success story in and of itself. Catapult crew here from Von Mountain moving forward, looking to probably to disrupt some of the archer fire. Noldor Elder Nobles now out of ammunition, forming themselves up on the battle line. This is actually, it's a pretty scary force, to be perfectly honest. There's some very nice elite forces left in here. And another unit of Noldor Elder Nobles as well. This is a lot of heavy infantry. You know what? Maybe the High Elves aren't in the bad place that I thought they were. They're certainly not going to have a lot of trouble if if Gundabad just moves in piecemeal like this. That is a recipe for getting yourself destroyed. The forces, I think there's Rules in the back there, and I think just predominantly Rules actually has most of the forces that are left. He needs to get these guys activated, moving, and supporting his allies. It looks like he's just being a little bit inattentive here, which is going to cost him a lot of his ballistic crew, for example. Von Mountain doing his best to defend his ally, but his ally doesn't seem too interested in defending himself, which is a little bit unfortunate. And Southern Nobles now reaping a terrible toll amongst the unprepared ranks of Gundabad, just running hit-and-run terror attacks in the back lines, proving to be a really big menace. And these are some important units here, too. Like, they don't even have to move in if they don't want to. They could just open up with their catapults, and that would at least be useful in supporting their ally. But at the moment, Rules is just kind of sitting there, which is unfortunate to see. Oh, man. Almost none of those Hammer Guard managed to make it to the front lines. Over here, the Elder Nobles are cleaning up what remains of Apollo the Great and Von Mountain's first wave. Ooh, big charge there. Oh, man, that one guy, like, flattened, like, 8 Berserkers. That's crazy. The Elder Noble's just going ham on this guy. Look at that. Wow. That was pretty incredible. Now, finally, Rules is beginning to move forward. Better late than never, I suppose. Let's go ahead and let's fast forward just a little bit and see if these Gundabad forces still have what it takes. I don't know if they do or not. Although at least they managed to get the situation in their back lines under control. And Von Mountain still has, you know, a few pretty nice units here. He's got his Scourge Raiders and those Savages, and I think a small unit of archers here as well. Oh, more reinforcements joining them out of the forest. These Orc Fellers now emerging from their forest home, beginning to move forward and take the fight to the High Elves. This is going to come down, I think, to how well Sin of the Dark Cloud and Kurogoro-chan can use their remaining cavalry units.
Our allies have fled the field like cowards.
Oh, here we go. Witch Realm Pikes forming up. These Witch Realm Scourge Raiders looking to get a piece of these blobbed up High Elven forces. Ooh, wow. A little bit of lag there. Witch Realm Scourge Raiders now charging into battle. Not in the best position. Oh, there goes the Gundabad General in like the first 2 seconds of that fight. That is a problem, and Rules now hitting his own units in the back. this could be the decisive moment of the battle there. If these guys are out, that's a lot of the Gundabad killing power gone in a moment. Oh man, those poor Rudar Savages just not having any luck there with the artillery shots. The Phallus Lords bravely charging in the battle, somehow just scooting right through that front line of Rudar Pikes. I don't know how they did that, but that was impressive. But now they're going to pay for it, I think, by being surrounded on all sides by AP units and those pikes in the rear. This is it, the final stand. We are now 93 to 92, practically dead even in the percentages.
Very much in our favor.
Scourge Raiders definitely not winning this fight, I think, against the Elder Runaway Archers. Well, maybe they're going to turn it around. Elsewhere, the Witch Realm Blackguard of Vaughn Mountain doing its best to beat down these Elder Nobles, but they are definitely outclassed in a big way. Those Noldor Nobles are not slouches at all. You don't want to engage them with a single unit. You want to try and bring multiple units to bear against them. Hopefully cavalry, maybe some trolls, and some AP infantry as well. And as they should be hard to beat, as they should be. They cost almost 2,000 gold to bring, which in a High Elven army is a significant amount of investment from your budget. So we got some breaking here. Some of the Orc Fellers running. Nice hammer and anvil strike from Sin of the Dark Cloud coming in to save the day. Rules moving forward with his catapult. I'm not too sure what this catapult crew is doing. Maybe they're trying to like push through here and isolate the High Elven forces, who on the battle line are actually getting surrounded and beaten quite handily. But it's going to maybe come down to these Noldor Elder Nobles. There's one unit here and another in the back. There goes another Gundabad general. Another clone of Azog is now fallen. I think they can pull this off. Those Noldor Elder Nobles are going to kill a lot of these rank and file, and it's mostly rank and file that they have left. Oh! Although not if things like that keep happening. That was a lot of Noldor Elder Nobles to lose. Or remains of that unit now charging into battle, into the flank, in fact, of those Witch Realm Hammer Guard. That's going to be very unfortunate for them. I don't know if they can do that. If those Phallus... that's the final Gundabad general. That's it right there. Maybe they'll manage to break them. This could be the impetus that they need to emerge victorious from this battle. Another hammer and anvil strike going in to those Orc Marauders. That is going to oblige them to flee. They are now running off the battlefield. Rune. Not Rune. I keep calling them Rune because Rudour units. But Gundabad is really struggling. There's a lot of their units now fleeing off the battlefield. A lot of their killing power too. Those Rudour Savages. And a huge number of Orc Marauders. Oh, wow. That is a mass rout. I think this is game over for the forces of Gundabad. This is really surprising. This is an amazing turnaround here on the part of the High Elves. A beautiful last stand. Look at this. Gorgeous. They just don't have an answer to the very depleted unit, but nonetheless powerful cavalry units that Sin of the Dark Cloud has at his disposal. Oof. Did that manage to kill anybody? Oh yeah, it's getting some of those Elder Nobles and the Phallus Lords. Looks like that the Ballista unit's not going to be around for too much longer. They're now charging bravely, in fact, into battle against those nobles, but they're going to rout very, very soon afterwards. Yeah, I think this is officially game over for the forces of Gundabad. Let's go ahead and let's fast forward a little bit here and watch these Noldor Elder Nobles clean things up. Well, those pikemen holding their ground admirably well, but I don't think it's going to be enough. A charge from the rear by some sword quenny. Where the hell did those guys come from? Yeah, this pikeman now surrounded, completely out of formation. Still, they managed to hold out for quite a while. Very elite Orcish units, not easy to deal with. And the High Elves are going to come out of this. Looks like 97 to 99. This was awesome. So we are going to go ahead and we're going to just do a quick review of everything that happened before the timer runs out. So just look at this. Look at the brutal, intense fighting all along this hilltop side, or this hilltop ridge side, down here into the forest. So much carnage, so much destruction. Things were looking really desperate for the High Elves for a while, but they somehow managed to band together, rally their troops, and come out on top. So that is a very impressive victory. Congratulations to them. Well fought on the part of Gundabad as well. They had a little... I think there was a big mistake near the end where they didn't commit all their forces at once, but otherwise they played They played smart, and they exploited the weaknesses in the High Elven formation in order to just break through this fortified encampment up here and do a ton of damage very, very quickly, which really put the High Elves on the back foot for pretty well the rest of the game. What do they got fighting here? Some Red Iron Heavy Pikes apparently don't want to run away. There it is. Victory for the High Elves. Just take a look at that. That is a lot of troops. Let's see. The High Elves probably have, about 6,000 and about 12,000 on the other side. A little bit over 12,000, probably closer to 13,000. That was awesome. Let's take a look at some of the casualties. Sin of the Dark Cloud getting a lot of damage with his archers, as you do. Jmonster's cavalry doing really well for themselves as well. 230 kills in that unit. Carindol, woof. A lot of kills. Look at that. 746 kills on those Imladris Guard. I told you that was an elite pike unit. They are so strong. That's like most, I think, of his... That's like most of his killing power located in that one unit as well. A unit of Lindon Longspears getting 322, really reaping a deadly, deadly toll amongst the ranks of the Orcs of Gundabad. Down here, Happy Meal's archers doing really well. His lancers weren't able to do as much, but I think a lot of those are either troll kills or ward kills, so it kind of balances out. Again, more archers doing really well. The Elder Nobles getting 270. Very, very scary. Cinder Blade Masters with 257. Kuroguro-chan, the older Elder Nobles, getting nearly 500 kills. 393 on one of his archer units. And his lancers didn't do nearly as well. I don't think he managed to keep them around for quite as long as Sin of the Dark Cloud managed to have his, but his Cinder Blade Masters down at the bottom there did really well for themselves, 270. Almost across the board, the Cinder Blade Masters did really well. But that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you guys in the next replay. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.